What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we have our playoff preview show for you today, our last show of the regular season before playoff hockey kicks off on Saturday evening. It sounds like the first puck will drop at 6 p.m. on Saturday night, and there will be a game at 8:30 as well. Two Western Conference matchups. Colby, I'm not going to send it over to you right away because it looks like you're busy right now. There is something that I do want to just address before we go into our playoff predictions. There was an article that was released today on The Athletic, the New York Times, about Artemi Panarin of the New York Rangers reaching an agreement and a settlement with an MSG employee over a sexual assault allegation. I was made aware of this article this morning when I woke up. I will be going to MSG for the Rangers morning skate after our show, so I'll find out more about the situation. But Vic, maybe we can just post a link for the article in the chat so people can catch up and people can read it. Essentially something had happened with Artemi Panarin and a Rangers employee on the road in December of last season. And it was kind of kept under wraps that the player and team came to an agreement, came to a settlement. And I guess everything reappeared this week and was, released to the public for public information. And people can go read the article and see what happened. The team was hanging out in a hotel on the road. Well, I'll say,
yeah, perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
So the team was hanging out in a hotel on the road. There were team employees and players. Then I guess Panarin had said, or took the employee's phone and said, if you want to get your phone back, come to my room or get it from my room. When she came to his room to retrieve the phone, it says he had pinned her to the bed. She pushed him off and then she left. So that's what the article says. And then obviously with the article that came out earlier this year about the Rangers social media team not being able to travel on the road with the team. And, there have been all these things going on with the Rangers employees and MSG employees in general. So this kind of ties everything together from what we saw earlier this year about the Rangers social media and Rangers team employees. So there is, I think Vic just put the article in there. So if people are curious about it, they can go read it. I'm going to find out more information about it. I'm not going to, I don't know all the details, so I'm not going
to. My guess would be if they settled this, I'm sure there's a lot of NDAs involved.
Yeah.
Which never looks good. Obviously when a,
nobody wants this is, I'm pissed. Like nobody wants to see this stuff. This is bad for, it's a fucking shitty situation, honestly.
Totally. 100%.
It sucks.
And if look, these are allegations, you know, and we always have to remember that, we do have a process in the court of law. But when you settle and you go under NDA, the natural instinct is to assume the worst, unfortunately. For both parties. And, horrible. I mean, listen, if it did happen as it's written in the article, I don't subscribe to The Athletic, so I didn't see it. You sent me it, I clicked it. It's behind paywall. But if it's as what you say it is, like that's terrible. I mean, literally terrible. But I'm not gonna jump.
I'll find out more information today.
Like, I'm not gonna jump to full conclusion here and and here's the thing. I don't know how much information you're going to get there today. You can definitely try, and I think it's your job to ask those questions. But I would say definitely a disappointing situation. And I appreciate the fact that you were willing to come on here and talk about it.
Well, it's the biggest news story of the day right now. I mean, I woke up, saw the artitle. I had heard last night it was going to get released. And listen, these things, it sucks. I don't know. It just, Artemi Panarin's kind of the last guy I thought would be involved in anything like this, and I think that's what's disappointing. But it just sucks. And obviously, we didn't want to start the episode like nobody wants to have to deal with these things. Like, these things shouldn't happen. These things shouldn't happen. Yeah,
we're a daily show. If we ignore something like that, because
of course,
where's credibility, right? I mean, I don't think either.
I'm just saying these things shouldn't happen. How many times you hear about this year after year after year after year about a player and employee, and it's just it's fucking insane, man.
I mean, I don't have any tolerance for the whole power dynamic when any human being on the planet uses their power dynamic to try to do, something like that. I don't know if the word assault or whatever the word was used
It
in
was used as a sexual assault allegation.
I mean, I honestly, like, I have such a zero. Everybody should have a zero tolerance policy for that. But when I see people that are using the power dynamic of like a CEO to an employee or a player to a social media person or like whatever, it's something that I struggle with. It's I just don't understand it. Especially when you have the world by the balls, as a lot of these people in these higher power situations do. But you know what? You'll do your best to see if you can get any more information. My guess is these things are all completely under non-disclosure agreement, so you're probably not going to get any. But we know that you'll do your best, and like I said, I know that this is usually me talking about these types of things on our show or these harder topics. So I guess I appreciate the fact that, you brought this to the table this morning.
Yeah.
So let's not waste any more time on it because we do want to try to get through all the playoff series today. Look, before anybody gets offended, Johnny's got to get to MSG this morning. And so we can't do a 2-hour show, and to properly do every series, we're talking about 2+ hours, the way him and I get into it. So there are some series that we're probably going to kind of buzz through a little bit. Like Colorado.
But we'll also do a show Monday, and like some games might not even be played.
Yeah, but and here's the thing: like we already talked about Colorado and Dallas. We've already hit stuff like that. So we'll go quickly through series like that. I think the ones that are a little more on the edge is where we'll spend a little bit more time on. And the matchups are set. Montreal gets the win that they need last night. And that's where we'll start. We'll start with Washington and Montreal in round one. And let me ask you, Johnny, you look at this series, where do you see the mismatches and how do you see this series going?
Well, I do want to just give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Proraso, before we get into this. The most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations, so get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15. No playoff beard for me this year because the Rangers obviously aren't in it, but if anyone is growing a playoff beard, highly recommend using Proraso products. Use our code, get that 15% off, Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. For me, Washington is a much more physical team than the Montreal Canadiens. I actually have the Washington Capitals sweeping the Montreal Canadiens. Listen, I think Montreal's had a lot of magic here down the stretch, but I don't think they can physically keep up with the Washington Capitals. Obviously, we don't know about Alexei Protas and when he'll be back. He's been out of the lineup. That's a big physical piece that the Capitals are missing right now down the middle. I think I heard he might be back for game 1, but I don't know if that's been confirmed. But I think the Capitals are going to abuse the Montreal Canadiens defenseman. Listen, this is Lane's what?
It's funny because on my notes here that I wrote down about this series, I wrote the Caps have a lot of size up front. Yeah. And I think they win the battle for heaviness. Yeah. And then I think the inexperience of the back end, because I'm not counting Lane Hudson out ever.
But this is his first 7-game series.
I get it. I'm just saying the kid just had 60 assists this season? 60 assists this season, right? I am not counting him out for anything. But
but now he's going back to retrieve a puck with Tom Wilson on his ass for 7 games.
You look at the D-core for Montreal, and it's inexperienced. It's just inexperienced. There's not a lot of long playoff runs in that group. Struble, Savard, Gould, it's not a real experienced group. And I think when you have that in mind, and then you have inexperience on the in the goalie position, I think you're in trouble. I think Washington's has goalies that have had some playoff success at times in their career. So I think Montreal wins a game. I don't see them getting swept on home ice. I think it's a 5-game series for the Washington Capitals.
I think Vic has Capitals in 5 too. And Vic, you're keeping track of all these, right? Because we need these written down so we can review them at the end of the series predictions.
I can take a note here.
Yeah, one other thing too. The Canadiens haven't been playing that well.
Yeah, but let me say this though. I made this mistake last year with the way Florida finished the season.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, the year they won the Stanley Cup, lost the 6 of their last 7 games. There is something to be said for a team that is really good all season and then takes. And I'm actually talking more about. Okay, I don't think Montreal was really good all season. Washington, if we're going there, they've been bad for the last couple of weeks, but they've been really good.
But they were so steady all year.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the consensus here is and I even see the chat. I see Caps in 5, Caps in 6. The Washington Capitals are going to win this series.
Yeah.
And Montreal looks like they're on their way, building for the future, and good for them. And I wonder though, will this making the playoffs? Will it be like? I guess it won't be the same, but if you remember, Jeff Gorton started to rush his rebuild in New York because they made the playoffs, but they made a long run of the playoffs in that 4th year. So that's what we got on that series. The next one, I think I'm starting to see a shift in perception on, and that's the Hurricanes and the Devils. For whatever reason, more people I feel like in the last couple of days I've seen jumping on this Devils oh, well, the Devils are really good defensively. Their goaltending is good. And, people don't love the way the Hurricanes play in the playoffs. They think they can't score, which is a fair assessment of what we've seen in the history.
Dougie Hamilton back too.
Dougie Hamilton was back. He played last night. That game kind of had its ebbs and flows to it. Jack Hughes, we know, has been out for a while. Vic thinks hockey karma is going to get them because he thinks that they never should have rested their players in a game that mattered, which I said to him, who did it matter for?
Yeah.
Well, it mattered for the Columbus Blue Jackets, but it's not the Carolina Hurricanes problem to worry about another NHL team. Rod Brind'Amour has a plan. So if you want to question Brindamore's plan, well, Vic, maybe that mustache is getting a little too tight for your face right now, because I do think you got to give Rod Brind'Amour the benefit of the doubt in when he's going to rest players, when he's going to play players. And Adam in the chat says Rod Brind'Amour is going to be out after a first-round loss. The reason he says that is because he's a Flyers fan and he wants Rod Brind'Amour available to coach the Flyers. So what do you think about this series, Johnny, as far as the game count?
Well, I think for the mismatch here, everyone looks to Carolina and goaltending, right? For the Devils, Jacob Markstrom's been good. This is the difference in the series. If Jacob Markstrom can find a way to steal one or two, but outside of Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, the Devils offensively haven't been putting in many goals. Those players have been hot, especially Meier and Hischier. But Carolina, to me, they have the best home ice advantage in the playoffs. This team, from home to away, there isn't a team that is more, for lack of a better term, flip-floppy. I can't think of what the word would be, but maybe advantageous. And I think the Devils, when I watched that series a couple years ago, granted it's a different team now, the Devils had a hard time playing in that building in 2023. And this roster isn't totally turned over from that team. Carolina was so much better, even with Jack Hughes in the lineup. I think it's going to be a similar outcome this year. Actually, I had the same outcome. I had the Hurricanes in 5. I think the Devils find a way to win one at home, but I don't think they're winning one in Carolina. The Hurricanes, top to bottom, are just a much better team. The bottom 6 is better. And again, I think if Markstrom can find a way to steal one, maybe things change if he steals one on the road. But to me, I have Carolina in 5. They're more complete. They're better at home. Devils have been very shaky over the past few weeks, playing below 500 hockey, I think, post 4 Nations. And I just don't think they'll be able to hang in there with Carolina for more than 5 games. What do you have for the game count?
I think it's a 6-game series. I think it's a 6-game series for Carolina. I think the problem I have with Carolina is how do you how do you go into this not knowing exactly who your starting goalie is? And I think that's the question. Do you start with Chekhov? I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that Liam asked Hank that question last night. And like Hank wouldn't answer it, which is just funny. He wouldn't say who he thought he should start. He didn't want to throw Freddie Anderson under the bus. I think a guy that he probably knows, who came into the league when he was still in the league. So I did think that was interesting. But like, who's playing in goal? Is it Kochetkov? Is it Anderson? I think that's where I'm a little hesitant of like, what goaltending are you going to get? I still think they win the series, but I do think that this can get to 6 games. And I think Carolina, wins this series in 6 games because they're just a deeper team that just keeps kind of coming at you. So, Vic, you'll have to let us know what the chat has for this series and as we continue to move down. I think the next series is the interesting one of the first round. At least people are billing it as the interesting one because of the way that the regular season went, and the Ottawa Senators took all 3 games off the Toronto Maple Leafs. I gotta say, like, I hesitantly am more confident that the Maple Leafs have a bigger, stronger, heavier, playoff-ready team than we've ever seen, at least in recent history. There's always an asterisk because you just have no idea if Mitch Marner is going to actually play. You have no idea what you're going to get out of Austin Matthews. You know what you're going to get out of Willie Nylander. I think you know. Although I did see a video on Twitter yesterday of him and Craig Berube getting into it. I mean, it looked like a pretty animated conversation, which I don't think is a big deal, by the way. I thought it was actually just more funny than anything. But, to me, the back end, and we've been saying the back end is improved for the last couple of playoff series for them. Now it's legit. Like, they're not in a point where it needs to be improved anymore. Like, their back end of McCabe, Tanev, Riley, Carlo, Ekman Larson, Benoit, it's big, it's heavy, it's mobile. They can lean on you. They can add offense. Like, you have everything on that back end. And I know Scott Lawton hasn't dazzled anybody, but I think he's going to be really, really good on that 4th line for Toronto. Again, I think you have Domi, who plays with a lot of attitude, and he's a competitor. Matthew Nyes has taken his game to another level. And you look at Ottawa, Johnny, and there's inexperience. And Brady Tkachuk is going to come out with his hair on fire. He's going to look, he's going to literally try to be a murderer the first couple of nights in the playoffs.
Yeah. He's not winning them a series. Let's be real. Everyone I hear is like, Brady Tkachuk's going to be the different. Like, he's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. But this guy hasn't played hockey in quite a few weeks. Also, there's going to be an adjustment period for him too. He's not just going to jump into his first playoffs after missing some key games down the stretch and all of a sudden win them the series. Like, I think people are being a little bit unrealistic just because this like anti-Leafs bias in the first round. And also, Colby, we talk about goaltending. It's not like Linus Ullmark is a proven playoff performer that's going to come in and steal games too. Where Stolarz on the other side, he's with the Panthers last year for their cup run. Granted, doesn't play, but he's been one of the hottest, if not the hottest, goalies in the NHL over the last month.
Yeah, but that's still my big question in Toronto is what kind of, like, I trust Linus Ullmark more than
goaltending advantage.
I trust Linus Ullmark in a playoff series a little bit more than I trust the goaltending duo.
But why?
Body of work in the regular season. I think for a longer period of time, I guess with Ullmark, I just who is Stolarz? Stolarz is going to take the net in game 1. What happens every time Stolarz plays a long stretch of games? He has an injury, right? And that's concerning. And Woll was really good in the playoffs last year, if you remember correctly. So
yeah,
these question mark goaltending situations make me uncomfortable. And so I think the Leafs are going to win this series, and I think they're going to do it in 6 games.
I have the same thing. I have 6 as well. Also, I'm very curious to see Tim Stützle in the playoffs. Like, he's a guy, obviously we're not about the Leafs right now, but with Ottawa, Stützle's a guy who's been criticized for diving and all these things in the past and regular season and whatnot. Like, I'm curious to see if that guy shies away from the physicality or not. And listen, the Leafs might not be the most physical team, but going against Carlo,
Wait a
Tanev,
second.
what?
Do you see the chat comment? Brady isn't a difference maker. He's going to do nothing from
That's probably just
Kalu.
that's probably just a Leafs fan or
I mean, come on. Like Brady
yeah.
Kachuk is a massive difference maker. I don't, not as if the Leafs don't have difference makers. Their roster is littered with difference makers.
Yeah.
It's just, again, I always question Austin Matthews this time of year. And I know Vic says, no, Matthews is, he shows up. Yeah, he does, but he's not. It's not regular season Austin Matthews in the playoffs. Willie Nylander's the guy who goes to another level. So, Stolarz though, 32 playoff minutes in his career. By the way, 0 playoff starts. So that's why you're asking me why I would trust Ullmark more. I mean, again, Stolarz has never really seen playoff action. The intensity level of that. So
just to battle that quick. Linus Ullmark playoff record. He's only played 10 games. He's started 9. He's 3-6-0. Has a 3.59 goals against and a .887 save percentage.
Not good. Who? What team?
All for Boston.
Okay.
He had 2 games in 2022. He got 6 games in 2023 and 2 games last year. Like, he's not this, playoff killer. But again, like I want to say
there's an adjustment, right? For playoff games, for players, like we just said for Brady Kachuk, there's going to be an adjustment. Don't you think there's going to be an adjustment for Stolarz?
Of course, of course.
So, these are question marks that you have to raise.
But the last thing, which I did briefly mention, I think
thank you, Sharma, for reminding me of that, and that is funny. Like I'm not being sarcastic. Sharma says he played for Buffalo before. Yeah, obviously he didn't play the playoffs in Buffalo. So
Carter Hutton was his
dumb question by me. Good call out by you, Sharma, and that is funny.
But the Stützle thing, we talk about guys who, perform in the regular season and can't find it in the playoffs. Like, I'm curious if Stützle is that next guy. He's been a guy who puts up points. He dominates. He's super skilled.
He's too light. He plays too light. Like, guys who play that light don't do well in the playoffs. You know who I think could be really good in the playoffs is Pinto.
Shane Pinto. Yeah.
Because he plays heavy.
Yeah.
Like, the kid plays reckless and heavy, and you need that. Like, that line with Amadio and Greg and Pinto, like, that's an important line for those guys. Because that's a heavy line. But honestly, there's not enough heaviness in this lineup for me. Obviously, Brady Kachuk counts as like heaviness for 3 players.
Yeah.
But overall,
Claude Giroux, Victor said.
Yeah, that's true. But it's been like a decade since he was a playoff player.
Yeah.
When was the last time
McLaughlin,
Flyers made it through any games in the playoffs?
Drake Batherson, I think, will be good for Ottawa.
So we'll see, but I think this series will be 6 games for Toronto. Wouldn't shock me if it was 5. But we'll see, because I do think goaltending can be a question for both teams.
And then the last thing I just want to ask you, because, this is a topic of conversation all the time that people bring up when these playoff series happen. Season series was 3-0 for the Ottawa Senators. Do you take anything in a regular season series into account for playoffs? I personally don't. I
think you can take a little bit, because I think certain teams just don't match up well. Like you just sometimes have a bad matchup against a team, you can't figure it out. And that's at every level of hockey. Like, you remember when you were in college, probably there was that one team that was bad that like always had your guy's number, or you always had a difficult time with.
It was us against everybody else. We were the bad team.
Okay, so a little different. I mean, I can remember different teams like that in different levels of hockey. So, let's see how that series goes. Look, I'm going to be dialed on it. I'm certainly going to be dialed on it. I know Zach's going to be dialed on it, obviously. And,
that's the series I'm most excited for.
The Leafs crowd is going to be fired up. So, all right, we got to keep moving here. We got to try to get through as many of these series as we can. And if we don't, we'll touch on some on Monday. But let's go to the battle for Florida, because
wait, did you give your official number, by the way? Leafs in 6 for me.
Yeah, I said Leafs in 6 too.
Okay.
Let's go to the battle of Florida, because if it's not the Leafs that get through the East, I think it's probably the team that comes out of the battle for Florida, in my opinion. I think this one is probably the one. The chat picked Ottawa in that series. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I think that's just because people hate the Leafs.
It's the popular. I listened to game notes yesterday, and I think all those guys were like, Ottawa's going to do it. Like, I think everyone just is going with the narrative that the pressure is all on the Leafs, and Ottawa's playing with his house money, and they're all la-di-da. We're in the playoffs. And
Zach, I'm laughing at Zach's comments. Max Payne. All right. Battle for Florida.
Okay? I have Tampa in 6.
You have Tampa in 6.
Tampa to me down the stretch has been, outside of St. Louis, probably the hottest team in the NHL. Andrei Vasilevsky has been on fire. This team, Colby, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, they're built with the most playoff players: Kucherov, Point, Gensel, Hagel, Cirelli, Hedman. Like, this team, top to bottom, is built for the playoffs. I'm not saying Florida isn't, but Florida's health has been a bit of a concern down the stretch. They're playing 500 hockey over the past 6 weeks. Sergei Bobrovsky has not been, nearly at his best that we've seen him, in years prior. They've played a lot of hockey over the past 2 years. And honestly, Tampa's offense, though, but Tampa offensively, they've been the highest scoring team in the NHL over the past, they're scoring goals, and they have guys who don't shy away from the physicality in the playoffs. Like, when you think of Point, Gensel, and Kucherov, like guys who do it in the regular season, then do it in the playoffs, like those three are at the top of that list.
Yeah, I mean, look, they will get a bunch of guys back, obviously, Florida. So their roster will look a hell of a lot different than it's looked for the last couple of weeks, and it'll be interesting to see what Brad Marchand can really do in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think with Bobrovsky, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a Stanley Cup winning goalie, so you have to realize that he can get to another level for playoffs. But this is a tough Tampa team right now that is not just doing it on the power play. They're doing it 5-on-5. I think that as this series drags on and it gets harder and heavier, I think it favors Tampa because, look, remember how Tampa needed they needed to lose early 1 or 2 years to get some summer training in, get some legs back. And then you have Florida that's been to back-to-back finals, right? Well, they lose one and they win one 2 years in a row, right? If my memory is not mistaken. And it's a lot. You play into mid-June 2 years in a row, like that eventually catches up with you. It caught up to Tampa, right? And so,
well, they made 3 straight cup finals.
I'm just saying, like the idea of like these deep playoff run year after year, they've got a little bit of everything. I mean, Braden Point goes to another level. You brought some guys back. Hagel, everybody saw it, 35 goals without a power play goal. That kid is he's gonna be great in the playoffs.
How about Hagel and Tkachuk for the playoffs after the
right
crap?
Yeah. I think Tkachuk will play. I mean, I was with his dad in St. Louis, and he definitely expects him to be back for the start of the playoffs. But again, how healthy is he? What's his timing like? What's his conditioning like? These are all realistic questions.
Ekblad also missing the first 2 games.
Yeah. So I was going to say, when does his suspension end? So you
he missed the first 2 games of the series.
I'm going to go Tampa in 7.
Okay.
I think this series goes the distance, and I like Tampa. I like Vasilevsky. I love that they brought Ryan McDonagh back. Like, good luck against Ryan McDonagh in the playoffs. They still have Chernak. I mean, that second pair with McDonagh and Chernak, like, you couldn't have a better shutdown pair in the National Hockey League to handle a line like, Barkov, Tkachuk, Reinhart, whichever line they are drawing against. And then, Victor Hedman.
Yeah.
So I like Tampa in 7.
Okay, so I have Tampa in 6, you Tampa in 7. I think Vic has Tampa in 7. Also, just to clarify, Vic had Leafs in 5 in the last series. Now it's time to dive into the series that I think is going to scare most of our listeners.
Are we doing a bracket challenge for this, or are we?
We should. Yeah, we'll put it together. Yeah, we'll set it up.
Okay, so that's I would assume we got to get.
You want to roll over your $100, make it $200 to the winner?
I already won $100. What are you talking about? Roll over.
We didn't give it to anybody. We can roll it over.
I'll
give 100. I'll give 100. You give 100.
How about you can give me 100 for winning the
but
morning?
That wasn't the deal.
I'm
giving you the deal now.
Yeah, but that's not a deal. If I were to go double or nothing, who am I going double or nothing against? Myself?
our lovely listeners that we talk to
but
every
I'm
day.
saying I already won the first one. So like, what's the incentive there? So
he's so selfish.
That is true. No doubt. Winnipeg, St. Louis.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you think St. Louis is going to win this series.
I do. I mean, I don't have many upsets in the playoffs, but I'm taking the St. Louis Blues in 6 games. And how could you not? Listen, Nikolai Ehlers is out. Gabe Vilardi out for Winnipeg right now. 2 pretty big losses to their roster.
When are they back? Do we have time frames on those guys?
Not sure about the time frame. Ehlers got hurt a little earlier this month. Not sure. I think it was week to week. So not sure there's a timetable on that. But also, like, we're talking about Connor Hellebuck having, the big goalie advantage for Winnipeg. Jordan Binnington's been just as hot down the stretch. Like, I don't look at this and say Hellebuck's going to totally outplay Binnington when what we've seen from Binnington is nonstop incredible performances, big game after big game after big game. Right? Like, I don't look at this and say it's such a mismatch. And, the offense for St. Louis is firing. Robert Thomas has been unbelievable. Jordan Kyrou has been playing well. The power play has been clicking. And when it comes to, like, getting hot at the right time, I think the Blues are the prime example of that right now going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Winnipeg's a bad team. I'm not saying they're
by the way, Vilardi's status is day to day now.
Day to day now? Okay.
And they're saying he's eyeing the start of the playoffs. Obviously, nothing confirmed there. But on April 5th, Ehlers, it doesn't actually say with Ehlers. It says that he re-aggravated his injury, and it doesn't say
week to week. Vic said,
yeah, exactly what the deal is there. So
that's a big loss for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, 2 years in a row, Williams Jennings trophy for Hellebuck. I think it's been great for St. Louis. Give them a lot of credit, but I'm not.
But it's not like this is a young, inexperienced team. It's not.
Yeah,
that's why I'm not looking at them like, oh, they're gonna fold.
Do we know what Dylan Holloway's status is? Because he's been pretty freaking important for St. Louis all year. I mean, you talk about losses. I mean, Dylan Holloway.
I was trying to find that yesterday.
Really showed himself as a big time player. He was week to week on April 4th. So, because that's a big difference, right? That kid plays with a lot of skill, a lot of offense, plays with jam. How's Snuggerud going to do in the playoffs? He's fit in pretty nicely there in St. Louis. Like, I don't think we ever put Snuggerud in the conversation for players that could help their team in the playoffs.
No, we didn't.
But
no.
I got to tell you, Snuggerud's actually looked better than Ryan Leonard, in my opinion, in the games that I've seen being played. So, I don't think that's a guy to overlook. And it's a deep team here, Johnny, but I go back to the structure. I go back to the discipline. I go back to the way Winnipeg breaks the puck out, all of these things. So, I think that I like Winnipeg. I don't see St. Louis beating Winnipeg. So what do you have? You have
I have St. Louis in 6 games.
In 6 games. Yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna flip that and say Winnipeg in 6 games.
But just a shout out to Bet365 here too. This is the series I might take the under in every single game. The Winnipeg Jets offense has not been firing all that much as of late. St. Louis has been hot offensively, but like you look at the goalies, I think this is the goalie duel of the playoffs. I mean, that's no secret. You got Hellebuck obviously on one side, but with the way Binnington's been playing on the other side, like I think these games are 3-1, 2-1, 4-2. Like, these are going to be the tight, low-scoring games of any series, I think, in the entire playoffs. So if we're looking for a betting angle for Bet365, like I said it 2 years ago that I took the under in every game, Islanders Hurricanes in 2023, and it actually hit in every single game. And I'll be doing the under for these games as well. Just wanted to give that. And I think how both goalies are playing right now, I'll take this goalie matchup over Vasilevsky versus Bob.
Parayko is back, for those of you asking. So, obviously, and then, Fowler, what a big ad he's been. I remember when Tyler Yaremchuk, and I don't think he's listening, but hopefully someone will tell him that I said this in the chat and in his show. But when I mentioned to him that Fowler and Gibson should have been two options that Edmonton was looking at last year, I even said that. And those guys almost laughed me off of Oilers Nation when I said that. They didn't say, well, we would take Fowler and not Gibson. They literally said both of them, they're both washed up and they both can't play anymore and this and that. Tell you what, if you're an Edmonton Oiler fan right now and you had an opportunity to have Cam Fowler, you're kicking yourself in the ass because of how good this guy can still be in the National Hockey League. And you know, again, I was just about laughed off their show bringing those types of things up. And look at the big issues in Edmonton: goaltending, back end. Okay, like, and I'm not suggesting Gibson would have been the perfect answer. I do understand that, but you know, you're talking about a guy in Cam Fowler who can still play at a really high level. So, you know, I think he has the potential. I mean, when's the last time Cam Fowler played in the playoffs? I mean, it's probly been
probably when Pat was on the Ducks,
going back to like his first or second year. You know, in the NHL, 15 years or whatever Fowler's been in the league, something like that. So,
I have two more notes though, quick.
Go ahead.
Jay Miller said Battle of the Shens. So the Shen brothers are going against each other, which is cool. That is also the first game on Saturday, 6 p.m. Saturday night Eastern time. That's the kickoff to the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's Jets versus Blues. And I think there was one more note that I had, but I'm blanking on it right now. Yeah, that's all I got, I guess. Just those two notes on that. It was our crispy hot take of the day yesterday that the Blues upset the Jets. And Pat Maroon, we asked him 2 weeks ago if there's one like hot take he had, it's that the Blues win a first round playoff series.
Okay.
And Pat knows that organization inside and out. All right, you want to move on to the next one?
Colorado, Dallas.
So before we do Colorado, Dallas, I do just want to go into our crispy hot take and give you our crispy hot take for the playoffs. So time now for the crispy hot take presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. Cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. Max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. You can visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And the Ninja Crispy hot take for today, our playoff preview, is Marty Necas to win the Conn Smythe. I have the Colorado Avalanche winning this series in 6 games. And how great of a story would it be? How shitty of a story would it be for Carolina Hurricanes fans if Marty Necas, who has come in and fit like a glove with the Colorado Avalanche, takes home the Conn Smythe trophy? I'm not saying this is what I believe will happen.
So he'll win the Conn Smythe, and then Colorado will retire Mikko Rantanen's number right after.
Well, they'll retire Necas instead.
Okay. I just was wondering.
But in all seriousness, I do have Colorado in 6 games. This has been my team for months now. No Heiskanen. It sounds like
this has been my team for months.
It has. I said months ago.
I just remember early in the season when you said they were dead and their year was over and they had nothing, and you were down on them in the season preview. Like, you did a complete 180 bandwagon jump with the Colorado Avalanche.
This was before the deadline.
I'd say in January. Is when you did that. Yeah. I mean, you left them for dead. I did that with the Blues.
Well, they had an AHL roster.
I did that with the Blues, just to be fair. The difference is Colorado's probably winning a Stanley Cup this year, and the Blues are going to lose in the first round. So,
also to note, Jason Robertson apparently was injured in last night's game. So Vic, that is why you sit your most important players in a meaningless game. So they'll have no Heiskanen, it sounds like, for game one. No, what?
I'm like, Vic, he's like, Kentucky karma. It's like, you
Yeah.
got to like, what?
Yeah. So no Heiskanen, no Robertson. And to me, like, Colorado is just the pace they play at. I've been saying it since January. It's just different, man. Those guys fly. Jake Ottinger also hasn't necessarily been like lights out in the playoffs. I'm sure you have question marks about Mackenzie Blackwood, but the blue line, Colorado has the clear cut advantage to me. And honestly,
Jake
down the
Ottinger
middle, I
hasn't
think
been
Colorado's better.
Jake Ottinger hasn't been great in the playoffs either.
That's what I
Like, he
said.
had
I
the
said that.
1 year. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
he had the 1 year where he was really good. I don't have a problem with Mackenzie Blackwood. I loved the trade when it happened. I loved the trade when he played well. I loved the trade when he didn't play well later in the year because they solved a major problem. I love that they have Wedgwood as just that stabling backup. He's not your typical backup. He's a guy who can really come in and win you games, by the way. So you're not like worried. I like Colorado in 6 too. I don't even see this one going the distance. I could see this being a 2-2 series at one point, and then Colorado just has that killer instinct, foot on the throat and let's go. And I'm with you down the middle. Cale Makar, forget it. I just think Dallas is in trouble. As long as this is the playoff format, the Dallas Stars are going to have a difficult time getting through the playoffs. And I'm curious, like, if Dallas loses in round one, is that the end of Pete DeBoer? I mean, I think Pete DeBoer is an amazing coach. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Again, big fan of Pete DeBoer, but
he hasn't won a cup though, right?
DeBoer
He's been there, but
leans
he hasn't
on
won it.
guys. Like, he's a tough, like, he has a window, DeBoer, right? He doesn't have that public reputation for being one of those coaches that has the window, but I'm just telling you, he does have a window. And I think if they don't get through the first round and have a long run here, unfortunately, again, because I like Pete, I almost went and played for him in the OHL for Kitchener years and years ago. Because of him, that was why that was the place that my family and my advisor were going to send me. So I'm rolling Colorado in 6 here. Look, Colorado's a cup favorite in my opinion. They're one of a couple of teams that I love that. I love that. The Johnny Jinx is strong. So that game's Saturday, 8:30 p.m. After whoever loses game one of that series, Johnny in game 2 is going to be like, this is a must win. This is a must win, like he did last year. Totally jumped the gun. This is a must win. Their series is over. They lose game 2, and then lo and behold, they win the series. So we'll see if our boy Johnny learned from that last year.
I thought you forgot about that.
My guess is he didn't learn from that last year. And then again, no Jason Robertson. That's problematic.
I don't know how long he's out. We haven't got a timetable on that, but
he left in a knee brace, which is not a good thing, right? No. That's certainly not a good thing. So Vegas, Minnesota. We know you're not picking Minnesota. We know that. So we could start there. Let's make sure you say some nasty things about Minnesota so we can clip it and we can send it to our friends in the management suite in Minnesota. But why do you think this series, Johnny, favors Vegas so much?
I think the Minnesota Wild are going to bring this all the way to 5 games. I have Vegas in 5. To me, Minnesota, if you take, I've been saying, I said this in the off season last year. You take away Kaprizov, this team struggles to score goals.
Yeah, but why do you think they're just going to take away Kaprizov?
I think the Vegas Golden Knights blue line is as good as it gets. If they can shut down Kirill, Matt Boldy's had a strong finish to the year, but we saw what it's like if you focus. Well, I guess they took, he wasn't in the lineup, but if you focus on one player, Minnesota's offense isn't all that threatening. He told Russo that getting Kaprizov and Eriksson at this point is huge. Oh, I did ask Russo that yesterday. Listen, I can't just go against Minnesota totally. I got to try to give him a chance a little bit. I asked Russo yesterday if getting Kaprizov and Eriksson back can be a boost for them going into the playoffs, but as far as matchups go, I just think the blue line for Vegas can shut down the offense for Minnesota. Minnesota's blue line, though, I think is sneaky good. Brodin is solid. Brock Faber obviously has had a great year. Gustafson's been playing well in net, but I'm taking Vegas and Aiden Hill and how well he's played. Jack Eichel, to me, one of the best players in the regular season all year long. Vegas plays a big, heavy game. Mark Stone, one of the best playoff players there is. They score on the power play. They have a ton of depth scoring as well. Like, this Vegas team is just more well-built all around. And I don't see any edge in any category that Minnesota has over Vegas. There's not one spot in hockey I can pick where I'm giving Minnesota an advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Vegas to go in 5 here as well. And I just think the drop off at the center ice position is so steep in Minnesota. Like, Eriksson Ek is the first, but after that,
and Russo talked Marco Rossi yesterday too. Like
Freddie Gaudreau, Marco Rossi, Ryan Hartman. And when I think about those three centers going down the middle against Eichel, Carlson, Watt, and TBD, I guess, on that fourth line spot, down the middle, whether it's, Schwent or one of these other guys, we'll see how they kind of move these lines around. I think right now, again, things are a little out of order because Stone didn't play the last game. Hannafin didn't play the last game.
Correct me, by the way. The Wild have the edge in management. That's where the edge is.
They have the edge in management. Yeah, they do have good managers. They do have good managers. That's a fair point. Yeah, I like Vegas in 5. I think Vegas is a true Stanley Cup threat this year. I don't think they get by Colorado. Just because, again, yes, Eichel's Eichel, but so is McKinnon, right?
Yeah, so, Colorado they're so good.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this though. Where did I see the actual bracket? There's definitely a harder half and an easier half on each side. The way that the bracket shook out. I'm trying to see if I can pull that up on my computer.
Where'd you look? Where'd you see that?
I don't know where I saw it. This stuff is everywhere right now, whether it's social media, whether it's in the app. Here you go, playoff. No, it's not showing up on the NHL's website yet, because I guess we're not technically into playoffs because of there you go. So yeah, but this doesn't help, Vic, because it actually shows who they have to play next. You know what I mean? Like, I think Vegas has an easier time. Actually, this is fine just because this does show who they play next. Like, Vegas wins, they got to play LA, right?
Good job, Vic.
And even Toronto, that's a much harder part of the bracket to come out of for Toronto, for Florida, for Ottawa, for Tampa than the top part, right? Like, that's where I think the Washington Capitals are a conference. They do get to the conference semifinals or the conference finals because I just think it's an easier upper fourth of the bracket, or whatever you want to call it, on the top in the East, in that division, the Atlantic side, right? So, that type of thing does matter. I think that goes for Colorado, right? Like, they'll see probably Winnipeg in the second round unless St. Louis does come up with that upset. So
yeah,
I think we have one more series that we haven't hit.
You don't have any sweeps, huh?
No sweeps.
And
no, why? Who did you pick for a sweep?
I picked Washington for a sweep.
And what I say, 5 games?
Well, you said 5, but you had Tampa in 7, right? Over Florida?
I had Tampa in 7.
Do you have this next one going the distance? Because Edmonton and LA is the only series that I have going 7.
I
feel
don't.
like there also there weren't many. How many game 7s were there in the first round last year? Was it just Boston and Toronto? What other games?
I don't like Edmonton this year. I really don't. I think Edmonton is I've been going back and forth whether I think this is 5 or 6 games for LA. But I'm not, as somebody who's been so high on Edmonton the last couple of years, watched more Edmonton the last couple of years, have done more Oilers Nation shows, stayed up more, later. But I just do not believe in Edmonton this year. I really don't. And
I think that's the popular opinion.
I think it's LA in 6, but I honestly would not be surprised if LA wins this in 5 games. Edmonton has just looked too disinterested throughout this season. They really have. And they're not deep. They're without Ekholm. I really don't. I don't trust Skinner. I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't trust him. I just think his game has been so inconsistent. You know, you look at, I know I already said this, but I think Ekholm is such a loss. And I know Ekholm didn't have as great a season, but you know, a B night for Ekholm is better than an A night for half the defensemen in the National Hockey League. And then the questions become: is Frederick back? Like, do we have confirmation that he's in for game one? Because he re-injured that ankle and they expected him back, but you know, let's see. He made his debut on Saturday, returning from the ankle injury. Yeah, no, he's TBD. So I think that's a factor. You know, you brought him in for the playoffs. You know, and then you just look around. They're littered with tough injuries. You know, you got to hope you'll see the big boys playing. I'm sure Wallman's back. But again, I go back to Ekholm. I really do. I think that's killer.
And I think I said this maybe earlier this week on our show, but if you, I mean, we talked about Vasilevsky, we talked about Binnington. Since March 1st, Darcy Kemper, 13-4-1, a .938 save percentage, a 1.46 goals against, and 3 shutouts. Like, this guy is as hot as it gets for goaltenders. I picked 7 games. I did, just because, listen, I know one player, 2 players can't necessarily win you a series or win you a game, but McDavid and Draisaitl, man, like, their power play is gonna, it's gonna win them at least one. It is, right? Like, the Oilers' power play, to me, I don't see LA shutting them down every game. Like, McDavid and Draisaitl are gonna find a way to steal one. They will. I'm not betting against Connor McDavid to not do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's that they have to steal one. Look, in their runs, their power play has been like over 50%. So it's won them games in the playoffs the last.
Well, I'm saying they might get dominated at 5-on-5, but the power play, if they score 2 or 3, that's stealing a game, right? No.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, maybe.
I'm not sure I trust the Kings' power play all that much. I think special teams is the difference in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what it's going to come down to.
So who do you like and how many games?
I have LA in 7. I think the Kings finally do it, but I do think this one finds its way to go the distance. Like,
right.
That's just, I don't know. I have a hard time counting McDavid and Draisaitl out, that they're going to go out in 5 or go out in 6. I don't know. It's tough, but I do have LA in 7. And Vic just said the only series that we are not aligned on is Winnipeg and St. Louis.
This is concerning to me.
Yeah, but again, like, I think you were probably surprised that, I'm sure you could have guessed that I might have taken Ottawa because of, like, the vibes and all that kind of shit, but Toronto's a different team to me this year. I think, if anything, one team that I actually think could upset, that I don't think anyone's giving them credit for, is Jacob Markstrom and the Devils. If Markstrom finds a way, the Devils' blue line to me is just as good as Carolina's, if not better, getting Dougie back too. Like, the Devils are a team that sneakily might come out of the first round. Sneakily. Like, if I'm picking, like, one true real upset, it's the Devils.
So you don't think St. Louis is a true upset?
But I officially picked them, though. Like, I'm saying, on all the series that we agree on, if I'm picking one, it's the Devils, and it's just because Jacob Markstrom against Kochetkov and Anderson, and I saw what Carolina's power play looked like last year when they come up dry. Carolina's power play couldn't find a way to score last year against the Rangers, and that was the difference in that series. So for me, it's the Devils. And I'm not saying, like, I think Jacob Slavin's a better defenseman than Dougie Hamilton, but when you look at the depth overall,
you think?
What? No. Well, I'm addressing.
That's not even debatable.
I'm addressing Ian's comment in the chat, but, like, well-rounded blue lines as far as those go. Like, I think the Devils, top to bottom, have a better blue line than Carolina. Pesci, who's going to be there? Who's going to be Siegenthaler? He's back, right? Yeah. Who's going to be there? Sorry, I was pulling up their lineup. Oh, Siegenthaler is not back yet. When's he back?
I don't know, man. Orlov.
Or is he done for the year? I think he's actually done. He's done for the year.
Slavin, Walker, Gostisbehere, Chatfield.
Siegenthaler is done for the year.
Dude, that's a well-rounded blue line in Carolina. I don't know if I'm buying your narrative that they've got a better blue line in New Jersey than in Carolina. Like, I don't think that's a true statement at all. Like Jalen Chatfield is a good third pair guy. We know Slavin is like the best 200-foot shutdown defenseman in the National Hockey League. Orlov, Burns. I mean, I'm a big Shane Gostisbehere fan. That guy is a game breaker who can make plays. Sean Walker has presented himself as, a pretty damn good 3-zone defenseman again in the National Hockey League. You put all those guys into their system. You look at the way they break pucks out. You look at the way they defend around their net. I have a hard time looking at a weak link. I mean, maybe you've got more offensive flair in Jersey, maybe.
Yeah.
And like, is this Luke Hughes's opportunity to take the next step back there? I mean, obviously that's always something that you're looking at. I don't trust Nemec that much, honestly. Like, I don't trust him yet. And obviously, Dumoulin is what you're getting out of him every night, but I just don't trust him. And I will say, like, I have a hard time remembering when Markstrom had some playoff series in Calgary. Like, do I remember this correctly, that he was pretty damn good in those series? Even the series,
I'll check his numbers, but
didn't lose. Like, I can't remember.
I just know that 7-game series against Dallas, like, Ottinger was lights out and Markstrom was pretty good as well. I don't know if he was like lights out though, but I'll check his playoff stats right now. Just give me a second.
I'm not cutting bait on Carolina. Again, they're just too much of a systematically well-oiled machine. And I think the Devils I think you can poke holes in the Devils lineup.
I just think Carolina's power play might come up dry though. It's happened in the playoffs to them a couple of years ago, and the Devils power play down the stretch here has been really hot. I don't know. I'm saying, like, as far as upsets go, I haven't heard anyone say the Devils are going to beat the Hurricanes. And I think if I'm looking at one team outside of the Blues that can do it, like, it's not Montreal, it's not Ottawa, it's the Devils. So here's Markstrom's numbers. I haven't pulled up. He's only played in 2 playoff years, 19-20 in the bubble with Vancouver and 21-22 with Calgary. Here are his overall numbers. He's 13-13 in 26 starts. 2.90 goals against and a .911 save percentage. So, like, not bad by any means.
No, not bad, but not great. All right, let me ask you this. Zoom out a little here. Vic, put up the matchups again on the screen, please. And we'll read them for those of you that are audio only here. When you look at this and the way Vic has this laid out, Winnipeg, St. Louis, Dallas, Colorado, the winners of those 2 series play next. Vegas, Minnesota, LA, Edmonton, winners play next. Who do you like, Johnny? After St. Louis, you pick St. Louis and you pick Colorado. Who do you like?
Colorado.
St. Louis against Colorado.
Colorado's my cup pick.
So you like Colorado in that series. You picked Vegas. You picked LA. Who do you like in that series?
Oh man, that's gonna be a good one. Probably Vegas.
Okay, you like Vegas.
And don't we deserve a Vegas Colorado Western Conference final? Wouldn't that be unbelievable?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be the best 2 teams in the West. I think that's exactly what you'd love to see.
And then I have Colorado beating Vegas.
Okay, and you've got Colorado coming out of the West.
Do you have any changes, any differences? What's your West looking like?
Yeah, honestly, it's the same for me.
Really?
I think it's Colorado. I mean, except Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg and Colorado play in round 2, and I think Colorado.
You have Colorado getting there.
I have Colorado coming out of the West against Vegas in the conference finals. I have LA taking care of business. I have Vegas taking care of business, but I have Colorado getting through Vegas in the conference finals. What about the East? We both picked Washington over Montreal. I like Carolina. Are you staying Carolina? Or are you flipping to Jersey?
I'm staying Carolina. Like, that was the official pick that I submitted. Like, I also submitted it before. And I'm rooting for Carolina. I don't want to see the Devils win. But that's just, like, the Devils are the team that I think, like, in the back of my mind, maybe they can do it. But I'm picking Carolina.
So you like Carolina. Who do you like between Washington and Carolina?
Capitals.
Okay. The team that
you? Any
I
differences
like
with
the
you?
Capitals too. I think the
Yeah.
Capitals are an Eastern Conference final team this year.
Yeah.
I really do. But I just think I'm surprised that you picked them though, because I thought you have felt like they've been ripe to be a playoff fraud, and you've used that word.
The Cap?
Honestly. Yeah, you
I haven't really shit on the Caps all year. Like I've been giving them credit. I think I shit on them before the year.
You in the last 30 days said that you think that they're going to still be a playoff fraud.
I don't think I said that. If you can find proof,
all right,
I'll admit it,
chat. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe
I'm wrong. I
Yeah.
think Jeremiah would certainly remember this. So
Yeah, I don't think I said that.
Okay. All right.
Certainly not how I feel right now.
Okay. Toronto, Ottawa.
I had Toronto. We both had Toronto, and then we both had Tampa. So it's Tampa versus Toronto, and I have Tampa coming out of that series too.
I have a Tampa Washington Capital
Same
Conference
here.
final, and I have a Colorado Tampa Cup
Same.
final. and it's funny.
2022.
I actually believe last year, I think that I had Colorado versus Tampa in the finals playing against each other. Now Tampa lost in round 1 last year. Yeah. I drank some Kool-Aid last year. All this Capitals love is making me uncomfortable. I drank some Kool-Aid last year leading into the playoffs when Florida wasn't playing well. Because if you remember, Florida had a bad final 30 days of the season last year, and I just felt like there would be problems there.
So we both have Colorado beating Tampa in the Cup final. So this is crazy that we're.
I mean, that makes me feel terrible about my
I don't
pick
like that
because
we never really agree.
You're never right about anything. So that makes me feel terrible. It should make everybody who is a fan of the two teams that we are picking feel terrible, because that is problematic.
Let me ask you one question though. Okay, so out of all the first round series, like I just gave the Devils. Out of all the first round matchups, is there one where you're like more nervous about being wrong about your pick? Like which series would you think like, this team I'm not super confident in? I feel like the Colorado Dallas one is like the obvious one, but curious to see what you think.
I think Florida Tampa is probably the one that I would say, if it went the other way, I would probably be, wow, yeah, I'm not that surprised because it's Florida. And I just don't think when Tkachuk comes back into the lineup, it just changes everything for Florida, the way that guy plays. How healthy is he? I would have to hope he's pretty healthy. He's been played since February, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the one that I'm the least sure about, because I think the teams are just so evenly matched that I think it could come down to a fluky power play goal, or a goalie interference, or things that are maybe a little bit out of the control. So I'd say that's probably the one, Johnny, if you ask me. But look, it's the NHL playoffs. That's why they play, right? When we did the NCAA tournament bracket, I was really confident in my picks, and for good reason. My confidence level in my picks it's probably 60%. If I'm being transparent, it's not 100%. But I feel pretty good about them. I don't think the Devils are beating the Hurricanes. I know you're kind of wavering on that one, but as our man Zach Phillips said in the chat, this is why we play the game. So Johnny, let's get to Out West here and talk about Wes and our friends at Out West and keep chugging along.
Yeah, so I actually had a great weekend in Sioux Falls with Wes. The guy who we talked to, the owner of Out West. He's the best. Gave me this brand new Sakara performance hoodie, but we're gonna do our Out West worst best teams. We're gonna give this a little positive twist, but we are introducing the Luna Everyday Quarter Zip from Out West. We've taken the same breathable, ultra comfortable fabric from our best-selling Sakara performance hoodies and crafted it into this brand new essential. Just like all of our pieces, the Luna Q-Zip strikes the perfect balance, not too fitted, not too baggy, giving you a clean, versatile look that feels just right. designed to move with you wherever your day takes you. It's perfect for everything from the office to the weekend. We just dropped 7 new colors on our site, so visit outwest.us. It's a limited spring release, so don't miss out. Grab yours today and use the code Cuppa, CUPPA in all caps for 15% off of your first purchase. Out West, every game needs an outlaw. We're doing the worst, best teams of the year, and we're just going to give love to the Calgary Flames and the Columbus Blue Jackets for everything those two organizations went through, for them to battle to the very end. I mean, Calgary, went to game 81, Columbus basically to game 82, if you count it. And honestly, I don't think anyone had high expectations for those two organizations this season, and for them to have the years they had. Great for them, great for their fan bases. After spending time with Out West and the Gaudreau family over the weekend, felt like it was an appropriate time to talk about them as well. Also, I should note that I do have some content coming with Out West shortly. We are, we filmed the whole day with the Gaudreau family and with Ethan Wittenbach, who is the recipient of the Gaudreau Award, the inaugural award for the USHL. So that video should be coming out, I think, in the next week or so.
Did Out West sponsor the award or no?
No, they sponsored the video though. So they had me mic'd up. They had Ethan mic'd up for that morning skate with the Sioux Falls Stampede. They also mic'd up Guy Gaudreau for his speech in the locker room when he handed out the award to Ethan. So I haven't seen any of the video yet, but I imagine it's going to come out pretty good. Those guys do an incredible job with all their content. So, just keep an eye out for that. I don't know when we'll be releasing it, but hopefully soon. It sounds like they're almost done with it.
How about just a couple of notes on those two teams? Really mostly Columbus. How about Zach Werenski, 80 points this season?
Yeah.
80 games played, 80 points.
Remember
when we weren't sure if he would make the Four Nations team, and then he went on to be one of the most dominant defensemen at Four Nations?
Mm-hmm.
How quickly he kind of pushed Adam Fox off the top of the depth chart into that sort of number one puck moving spot. Obviously Slavin and Faber held down the shutdown spot. And then a couple of other notes, like,
can I say one thing about Werenski quick?
Go ahead.
Just what Brant texted us yesterday. Zach Werenski led the entire NHL in shot attempts, which I thought was a very interesting stat, right? Like, out of every player in the NHL who we know can rip the puck, it was Zach Werenski that was number one on that list for shot attempts. I just found that to be an interesting stat. I know Brant did too. But I just wanted to throw that in there before you moved on. Sorry.
You guys, honestly, I was putting Sloan to bed when
we were
texting
doing that. I knew you were pissed off.
And I looked down at my phone and I had like 41 messages because you guys were rapid fire going back. So I probably missed half the conversation.
Yeah.
Because when I'm putting her down, like I don't have my phone. So I caught some, I didn't catch the other. But Kent Johnson, 24 goals this year. So he takes a good step forward. Adam Fantilli, 30 goals. Okay. If Adam Fantilli is a 30-goal scorer every year in the NHL, then that's a well done second overall pick. I mean, he only played 49 games last year and he had 12 goals. This year he gets he gets 30 goals. Right now, you maybe put him around some other players and let him pick up some more assists. 53 points isn't crazy, but 30 goals is legit. Like, you pay for 30 goals in the National Hockey League, and you pay well for 30 goals in the NHL. Now he's got to come back and do it again. And it seems like he flourished under Dean Evison. So that's important. But I think the future looks like it's coming in the right direction for those guys. When you see those young players having good seasons, and hopefully Sean Monahan, who almost gets to 20 goals with 19, can continue that production and continue playing well there in Columbus. And then will they get a deal done with Provorov? Will they not? I mean, we'll see about that. He's a big minute guy, 23 minutes a night for them. All season. I think the only guy who averaged more ice time than him was Werenski, which you would expect. So, good kudos to them for hanging in, right? Reamer told us a couple of weeks ago, and he texted us that don't sleep on Columbus, right?
Try to message him back now.
What'd you say? And say what? I mean, listen, I don't think there's a chance he's played his last game in the National Hockey League. So I don't think putting the knife in and giving it a twist is it's probably not the time for that, Johnny. So
no, definitely not.
So good on those guys. And then obviously you have your starting goaltender and your future in net in Calgary, which should be exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like the hardest thing to find is a true star number one goaltender. And so they look like they have it. And that's a good thing in Calgary. They got the new building coming in a couple of years. So hopefully they keep this momentum going. I think you started to see Craig Conroy's work panning out with some of the decisions that he made. They'll probably have a busy offseason in Calgary. I think it'll be a one of the more interesting teams to look at because you do have this rebuild happening or this retool happening, but you also have a bunch of guys with money and term. Uyghur, Huberdeau, Kadri,
yeah.
You know, Anderson, I heard at one point was on the trade block. They've got some really good young prospects. And, you know, I never get this kid's name right, but Zane Pareka, I don't know. Parik. I thought Pareka.
That's my understanding. It's Parik.
I thought it was Pareka, but I never get that.
And apparently, I owe you an apology on the Kibosh thing. Apparently, I was wrong.
Yeah, you were wrong on that, but that's okay. That's okay.
I was in the chat on the sheet saying, "My bad for giving Colby shit since he never does it to me."
Yeah, I think it's well deserved at this point. So I think it's 1.5 regular seasons of me giving you a hard time. I think you're within your rights to give me a hard time time and time again.
Off topic, but I want to address Drew's comment in the chat. I wasn't glazing the Devils. I was anti-glazing the Canes.
You love glazing other teams in the metro area. You do. You glaze the Islanders every chance you get.
How
you
do
glaze
I glaze
the Devils.
The Islanders? I said I get a back tattoo if they made the playoffs.
You glaze the statistics community every time you get a chance. You know, you're a glazer. Yeah. That's what you do. You're a glazer.
I'm an appreciator.
You're a glazer. You're a glazer. There's no right. Randy says you're the way you're pronouncing that guy's name is correct. Parik like Marek. So, but I hear that kid's a stud. And you hear nothing but good things about that guy. So, I also heard, by the way, I heard Gavin McKenna to Michigan is a done deal. And I heard, you're talking $250,000 to go to Michigan. That's the word on the street right now, that is a done deal. So good for him, and that'll be great for college hockey. He looks bored in the dub. You know what? The other thing I wanted to mention that I forgot to talk about.
I'm scared. What?
Nope, doesn't have anything to do with you. A package arrived at my house yesterday from Penn State hockey, with a handwritten note from their head coach,
no way,
who we had on the show.
Yeah, I saw Mac just transferred there too. It's awesome.
Mac Adowski, they just got an All-American defenseman, his son, which will be super cool. But man, I gotta say, like, I guess, you know, they heard about what happened, and it just shows you how first class Guy Gadowski and his staff is. Their other assistant coach reached out to me. Other people from the hockey program reached out to me. And it's funny, they all went back. They listened to the broadcast. They couldn't have been more thankful about, in a game where they didn't play well for 2 periods, how I spoke of their program, because it is a great program. But I will say, like, it's run by first class people. Like, I'm not going to share what the note said. It was a handwritten note. It was not typed out. They hooked me up with some stuff. They have some of the coolest and cleanest looking clothing there is in college sports. At some point here, I was going to wear the half zip today, but I figured since it's our Thursday out west day, I would rock one of my out west hoodies. But again, completely unnecessary for those guys to do that. I love them regardless. I've loved everything about that program for since they came on, since it's in my backyard to some extent.
I would have loved to have played for that guy. No pun intended.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think everybody loves playing for Guy Gadowski. I mean, he's just such an inspiring guy. So that was a really cool thing that happened yesterday. Totally unexpected. Listen, anytime somebody actually writes you a handwritten letter in this day and age, I think it's like the most meaningful thing ever. Handwritten letters are so few and far between at this point that when you get one, it's really cool. I actually, believe it or not,
I wrote you one once.
I did. Yeah. When you sent Sloan a birthday present, didn't you?
Yeah.
I received, I'm going to show you what I received recently too. I haven't had a chance to put it up. I think I showed you this.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
This painting, which is up in Agganis Arena at BU, what they do is every time, so I'm just putting that back. Every time there's 4 first-team All-Americans at BU, even if it takes 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, or whatever, they do one of these oil paintings. So when I received that painting or the print of the painting, there was a handwritten note from the athletic director, and I thought that was really cool and that was really touching. So I think, Johnny, moving forward, when somebody does something really nice for me, I'm going to write them a handwritten note. I'm going to start doing that, because the last 2 that I've received in the last like 6 weeks, they've been like so meaningful to me. Like, I kept the note that I got from Guy Gadowski. It's on this like really cool Penn State, like, half like bent like note card. I'm going to keep it. And I kept the one when I got it from the athletic director at BU. And I'm going to start doing that when something, good happens. I'm going to start doing handwritten notes. So
can I show you something and show our chat something that just shows how opposite our hockey careers were?
I mean, I don't think our careers were that opposite. We both played Division I. I barely made it in the National Hockey League, and I was a bust. So
you're gonna.
I don't think our careers were that different.
You're gonna crack up though. I'm gonna show you, and I'll tell the backstory quick. I know we're running a little long, but this is hilarious, and I don't think I've ever told you the story, so you're gonna shit on me so much. So you get gifts sent to you, and you get framed paintings of yourself. I went to summer camp called Camp Equinonk with Adam Fox. Adam went for 3 summers. I went for like 10. People at the camp took us out for dinner. They bought me my freshman year jersey from UMass, and they bought Adam's like first game worn Ranger jersey. So they wanted us to sign the jerseys to camp and actually frame them in the hockey rink at our summer camp. So, and listen, I love this place to death. It's just a funny ongoing joke that I have with them. They framed Adam's jersey and they gave me mine back. So now I have this jersey that I signed to our summer camp that I have to myself. I signed it to Equinonk, Summer Home Forever, from like Jonny Lazarus. And I just have this jersey now. They never hung it up. How ridiculous is that?
They should hang it up.
It's ridiculous. That's why I have it flipped around on this side. It's like the funniest thing ever.
But you played at UMass.
I ruined this jersey.
I think they should hang it up. Hang it up.
Let's make this
a
petition to have them hang up the jersey.
You should get some of those jerseys framed, though.
Well, so sad story. I had these jerseys framed before the fire, and then once the fire in our house happened and the frames got all fucked up, so I just.
But those are the original jerseys, at least.
I haven't gotten them. Reframed since our house fire. Something I have to do. I had that the newspaper framed last year, but it actually fell in the middle of the night and the glass shattered all over my room like at 3 a.m. It scared the crap out of me. So yeah. Why am I being canceled? I'm looking at the chat right now.
Yeah, I don't know either.
What did I say?
Nothing that could get you canceled, so don't worry.
What did I even say?
All right, look, we got to get to Bet365, and before we get to Bet365, just remember, guys, we're heading into playoffs. Playoffs is where we really, make our money, make our season. We got to have big numbers in the playoffs. We need all your guys' support. It means everything to the growth of our show and keeps Johnny and I on the air. It's just the reality of what we do. So make sure you give us a like on the episode, give us a comment, make sure you subscribe. If you are a YouTuber, get the automatic downloads on, because you might miss part of the episode, and then you get on your commute, you get in the car, whatever it is. You can listen audio only, because I know that's what happens when I listen to our shows back. I kind of get through them little bit by little bit as I'm if I need to refresh my memory or go back and listen to something Jonny said, if I need a good head shake. So all of that stuff we're grateful for, and we ask that you guys keep doing it for us, as you guys have been so great on before. So Jonny, what do you have for Bet365 today?
So, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, NATION, in all caps to get in on the game. You must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. And our bet of the day for Bet365 is the Colorado Avalanche to win the Stanley Cup at plus 750. We both like it. You and I are on it. Getting them at plus 750 is
who has the best odds?
Pretty decent odds.
Panthers,
the Panthers have the best odds at 650.
650. Wow. And we both have the Panthers going out in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So, Tampa Bay plus 1,100 to win a cup. That's juicy.
I like that too. Yeah.
I like that too. I mean, we didn't make a Stanley Cup pick, by the way. We got all the way to the final, but I mean, I think you're on Colorado, right? I don't know yet. I'm not ready to say who I think's going to win. But I'll let you know. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about that Monday. But all right, Jonny, good show. I know you got to get over to. Go ahead.
Blues weren't even on there.
The Blues weren't even. Well, I'm sure they're on there. They're just. It's probably just it's a longer.
Read more. You got to click the read more button.
Keep looking or something like that. All right, get over to MSG. I assume it could be a little. It might be a little tense over there today. So if anything crazy happens, you'll have to let us know.
I'm running late. They're on the ice at 10:30, so I got to get there quick.
Just hide behind Molly Walker when you ask the hard questions.
Oh God, I don't even know what's gonna happen. All right, I gotta go. Good stuff. Love you guys. Talk to you Monday. 5 days a week next week. Starting next week. Did you say that? You said that?
Go ahead. You finish us out.
We got Monday through Friday for the rest of the way. So don't forget about that. We're gonna show up on Fridays. We expect you guys to show up on Fridays. We love you. We'll talk Monday. Playoff start 6 p.m. Eastern Saturday night.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.